Thank you for watching NMH at 1, where we highlight pertinent news and current affairs, community stories from across Namibia, as well as international headlines.
Now here's what to expect in this lunch hour. State House has promised to clarify President Geingob's remarks in which he suggested that a Swapo Extraordinary Congress would be held before the next general election. The Home Affairs and Immigration Ministry launched a national migration policy that will be implemented at a cost of 140 million Namibian dollars. Swapo wants the Namibian government to resurrect Air Namibia.
Stay with the NMH at 1. Economic news, sports updates and international headlines coming your way, read to you by Kweyo and Diana Master.
In today's midday news update, Gondwana's Etosha King Nahale Lodge private water point remains a hive for wild animals. During the day, a pack of elephants were seen at the water point. The lodge was officially opened by King Philemon Shumbwa Nangolo and Environment Minister Pohamba Shifeta on Saturday early hours.
Leave us a comment on our social media platforms to engage with this story and more. Visual news coming up after the break.
Take a load off and tune into another episode of Brave Namibia as we take a look at both ordinary and extraordinary Namibians. Brave Namibia is broadcasted on NTV Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and oneup2.com, as well as broadcasted on the following Facebook platforms on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Republican, Algemeine Titan, Namibian Sun, and all Namibia Media Holdings pages. For more information, contact the Brave team at brave@synergy.com.na. Brave Namibia, for the ordinary and extraordinary Namibians.
Kaap vol Hoop vertel stories van die Kaap en sy mense, en uit die stories en ervarings deel ons mooi en unieke plekke om te sien en te ervaar. Kaap vol Hoop gaan waar die Kaapenaars gaan en gaan kuier waar die Kaapenaars kuier. Van die strande tot die wynlande en die sportvelde tot die restaurante. Ons kuier dalk sommer ook in iemand se kombuis vir daai familieresep van ouma. Ons eet die Kaapse tradisionele kosse en drink van sy beste wyne. Kaap vol Hoop gesels met die gewone Kaapenaar en soms ook met die meer bekendes. Maar week vir week vertel ons elkeen sy eie unieke storie op sy unieke manier. Kaap vol Hoop kyk ook uit vir die Namibiërs in die Kaap. Sommige kom kuier net en sommige maak die Kaap hulle nuwe tuiste. Namibiërs in die Kaap gesels saam met Kaap vol Hoop en deel self die mooi, die uniek en lekker wat op hul pad kom. In alles is Kaap vol Hoop 'n program wat die mooi en die lag na vore wil bring en 'n program waar ons mekaar kan opbou en leer. Daar is hoop. Daar is 'n Kaap vol Hoop.
Getting into today's visual news clips, Ondangwa Town Mayor Pavo Amwele, who was recently re-elected as the town's mayor for the 7th consecutive year, says that they will continue to serve the people of Ondangwa and that it cannot be done alone. He urged councillors to work together as well as stakeholders to ensure development of the town. Enzo Amwele has more.
Hapa na tashi ni hapa nina sita ni penya oni majisho mdilo shilongo
for taking out time from your busy schedule to come and preside at this occasion. I then thank everybody involved and my fellow councillors for trusting me again to be the mayor of this beautiful town for another 12 months ahead. I'm looking forward to continue working with you by implementing the strategic plan that will be launch soon at the beginning of 2023, as well as the project that we as a council had planned to together in order to bring development to this town. I am elected as a mayor today, and a mayor means I will be relying on the support that you give me, as well as the support that I can get from the staff members. As a leader and the councillors, we should always remember that our duty is to give direction to the staff members and to encourage them to do their work in a conducive environment. We are councils have officials who are employed to work and implement. We need to support them in any way we can to reach our mission and vision. I would like to ensure that our achievement can never be measured by the quality of speech we make, but by the energy we put in resolve to improve the life of our masters that sent us here. So I call upon all of us to work hard in order to make the year 2023 a very successful year. With this few remarks, I accept this.
Prime Minister Sarah Kugongerwa Amadira on Saturday during the commemoration of the International Human Rights Day event that was held in Rundu reminded those in attendance the history of the day as well as the importance of protecting the rights of women. Kenya Kamboe reports.
Today, the 10th of December, is an important day internationally as well as nationally here in our country. Nationally, this day, as we have heard, has its genesis in the 10th of December 1959, when the apartheid government of South Africa, in their brutal efforts to continue to segregate our people, set out to forcefully relocate them from the old location in Windhoek, which is today Hockland Park area, to the new location where settlement was based on ethnicity. Our communities rejected this forceful removal, and the response by the colonial forces was the use of force, which led to the killing and maiming of several Namibians, including Memeka Kurukade Mungunda, who was gunned down by the colonial forces after she set the police van on fire. As we observe this day today, it is important for us to have a full understanding of what human rights is. People need to understand that it's a violation of human rights to beat up a woman. It's a violation of human rights to deny food or the sharing of the family's resources to a woman. It's a violation of human rights to treat that woman in a undignified manner, like insulting them. It's a violation of human rights. So we need to understand that so that we can protect these rights.
In our next video, Gondwana's Utosha King Nahali Lodge was officially opened by King Philemon Shumbwanangolo and Environment Minister Pohamba Shifeta on Saturday, lighting the bomber commonly known as Olupale and unveiling a plaque. Let's have a look.
Ni mandisho mdilo shilongo ino iningwa ne akalo iningwa ina kejigo kutoa kucha mna ukalama mna ukala kana kwa kama olumeni opitiro kitabu munduda to ni geva anga sina lumeni opeife olumeni akuli la mushi anya jopita ai kweli to ningi nai ocho hoi mongo oti mongo etago fina jamo oti botoka tegwa kome pota lukani unangale na neto akala usho ashimipa kota tiyo kitro mundu nande to dengo nangala ndete kuja no koi wakakofa ponga una kukarawa jamo to imanga usale mnyando nja talukani uye mwana wa cheta la jam ya oini mayo inasha mtu akelao ndani pata fadane mjonge ngotendo mula watoto oloshi abakucha nongo himandi bamache iko himo hivishi mula oshimandi so kasima yena ehende no mula ni maili ngao inango o michoti no tinasha istara kucha na no seta po maili ngao yeta po ka lugo nale obene nyima iha banindi no beno mala wabo ndetaba kaninga shike obena kushininga ngalisi basadu bakalon tumba baseleta ko obena ukala kucho ne macho tindi ne bakalon tumbi to kalon tumba wa ulinga bakalon tumba ngakala ya techeshi bakalon tumba wa fuliko ulioreti kucha wa ya so no vie on kukala ja on zero.
After the break, we review pertinent stories from the country's daily newspapers. Stay with NMH at 1.
Ironga Talk brings you community news in the Ironga region. For news-related or advertising queries, contact Ironga Talk at synergy.com.na. Ironga Talk, our community, your news.
Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. We now take a look at what the lead stories are in Namibia's daily newspapers. The Namibian Sun leads us into the newspaper review with Namibian Vice President Nangolo Mbumba says in the midst of the misunderstandings regarding the mooted Extraordinary Congress of Swapo, the party will endorse its Vice President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah as its candidate for the 2024 national presidential election. State House on Friday issued a statement in which it promised to clarify remarks made by President Geingob at the just-ended Ordinary Congress, in which he implied that he would resign as party president, which would necessitate an extraordinary Congress to elect his successor. On the paper's page 3, the Home Affairs and Immigration Ministry has launched a national migration policy that will be implemented at a cost of $140 million Namibian dollars over 5 years. Deputy Minister Daniel Kashikola said the policy will serve as a guiding document for a well-planned migration management plan and its incorporation into national development strategies and plans. Along with Cabinet's decision to approve the policy, it also approved the creation of a national committee on migration management, which will oversee its implementation.
Afrikaans daily newspaper Republicans reports Pupkewitz Holding Pty Ltd is demanding more than 16 million Namibian dollars from its former CEO, who in 2019 resigned with immediate effect after complaints of alleged misconduct and sexual harassment were made against him. Pupkewitz has 4 claims of 6.59 million, 6.41 million and 2.1 million Namibian dollars, as well as 1.5 million against Frederick Christopher, who on the 1st of August 2015 as the company CEO was appointed. A full bench of judges from the High Court in Windhoek last Monday had an application by the human rights activist Mbulukeni Nauyoma to declare the proclamation on squatters of 1985 unconstitutional. Nauyoma brought this application against the Attorney General and the Namibian government.
The Allgemeine Zeitung today leads with an article about a report of the Communications Control Authority, which 12 months after the fact tells the Namibian public about the status quo of the country's telecommunications sector. Sadly, as in all cases where statistical information and assessments are made public very late, this report is likely to turn out to be of relatively low value simply because the facts on the ground keep changing so fast, especially after the radically changed COVID-19 situation. What seems to be clear once again is the fact that the Namibian state continues to enjoy a monopoly in the sector in terms of assets and ownership. On page 2, the Allgemeine Zeitung brings an interesting snippet that could possibly be seen to be the typical sensationalist reporting often attributed to the German newspaper Bild. Already in October 2022, the Namibia Investment Promotion and Development Board introduced its digital nomad visa, which was designed to welcome those people who would like to come to stay for a fixed period of between 3 and 6 months, in which time they would be able to continue working on their independent projects or income streams while being allowed to visit and enjoy Namibia. When NIPDB Director Nangula Wanja last week uttered an invitation to that end to the German Minister of Trade, Robert Habeck, the Bild now interpreted that as an invitation to the German public to come and stay in Namibia during the German winter and thereby avoid the gas crisis in that country. After the break, we'll be back with more newspaper reviews.
Hi Nangula, you look sad.
Hi Peter, I am sad because my parents argued about whether I should spend the weekend at my mom's or dad's place. When I asked them why my views were not considered, they told me it has nothing to do with me as I am too young.
That's a job for your cape of participation. It can fix that.
My cap of what?
Your rights. They're your superpowers. Your cape of participation is your right to participation. It means you have a right to participate in decisions which affect your life. You have a right to an opinion and to tell people your views in a respectful way.
For more information, contact the Children's Advocate Namibia in the Office of the Ombudsman on 061 20 73 111. Send us an SMS on 20401. SMS costs 40 cents. You can also send us a message via our Facebook page. Remember, the services of the Children's Advocate are free of charge.
Let's continue with our newspaper review. The Namibian reports on its front page that Swapo wants the Namibian government to resurrect Air Namibia. This was among the resolution taken at the recent Swapo Congress. Finance and Public Enterprise Deputy Minister Maureen Hinda yesterday said Air Namibia will not be reviewed in the next financial year due to legal requirements. The government shut Air Namibia down early last year due to a plethora of financial viability and operational and staffing problems. This happened despite billions in the form of taxpayer-funded government bailouts invested in the national carrier during the course of its existence. The Namibian page 3 reveals money in 2 bank accounts linked to a man accused of defrauding a company with a sale of fish in March this year was declared forfeited to the state in an order given in the High Court on Friday. Judge Haneli Prinsloo declared the funds in the bank account of a close corporation, Arsen Investment and Freight Forwarding, and its sole member Erwin Anrold forfeited to the state in terms of the Prevention of Organized Crime Act 4 months after Prosecutor General Martha Imalwa obtained a provincial preservation order over the 2 accounts in the High Court.
Now, according to new Air Namibia needs to build competent and accountable institutions to manage oil revenue and minimize the risk of corruption by closing all legislative loopholes in order to avoid an oil curse. This is according to Rosita Ndumbu, a research associate at the Institute for Public Policy Research, who was speaking at an anti-corruption conference held in Walvis Bay last week. 2 major oil discoveries by Total Energies and Shell were made during the first quarter of 2022 offshore Namibia. According to the paper's page 3, Home Affairs Minister Albert Kawana has expressed concern about the conditions some law enforcement members are living in, particularly those stationed at the country's borders. Kawana said in most instances, law enforcement officers, particularly those serving in the Special Field Force at the country's borders, have been living in deplorable living conditions due to a lack of proper accommodation facilities.
Now, on to our next story. The inflationary pressure which emanated from geopolitical tension require close monitoring as they could undermine the economic recovery and negatively impact the health of the financial system. The latest inflation figures by the Namibia Statistics Agency indicated that inflation came in at 7.1% in October 2022. Year-to-date, inflation averaged 5.9%. Despite vulnerabilities, the Macroprudential Oversight Committee of the Bank of Namibia is of the view that the domestic financial system remains stable, robust and resilient.
Now, South Africa could lose part of its preferential access to the U.S. if its trade policies disadvantage American exporters relative to their developed nation counterparts, according to people familiar with the matter. We'll be back with this story and more after the break.
Chill Sessions is an entertainment show that brings you the latest hit, fashion, and entertainment news. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact chill@synergy.com.na. Chill Sessions, bringing art and entertainment to the people.
Let's get into our economic news. South Africa could lose part of its preferential access to the U.S. if its trade policies disadvantage American exporters relative to their developed nation counterparts, according to people familiar with the matter. Thousands of South African products enter the world's biggest market duty-free under the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, and the so-called Generalized System of Preferences, or GSP. South Africa shipped goods worth more than $15 billion to America last year, with $2.7 billion worth cleared under the two accords, U.S. government data shows. AGOA is due to expire in 2025, and U.S. officials have previously said the qualifying criteria for beneficiaries could be revised or the program may be replaced. It would be surprising if South Africa's trade terms remain as favorable as they currently are, said the people who are familiar with the talks about the accord's future and spoke on condition of anonymity as discussions are private. U.S. lawmakers is concerned that South Africa is taking advantage of its preferential market access while imposing tariffs that render American goods uncompetitive could trigger the change, the people said. AGOA's eligibility requirements include eliminating or working toward scraping barriers to U.S. trade and investment.
Moving on to our next story. After months of anticipation, the OUTsurance Group listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange on Wednesday with the code OUT. The Centurion-based insurer officially swapped places with its parent company, Rand Mansion Investment Holdings, which is no longer listed on the exchange as of the 7th of December. RMI has been preparing for this since 2021 when it started unbinding its take in Momentum and Discovery to focus only on its short-term insurance investment, but it later sold its stake in UK tech-based insurer Hastings to concentrate solely on OUTsurance and its Australian sister company UE. With only that investment in its portfolio and the big share price discount that investment holding companies such as RMI have been battling with the recent years, it made sense to let OUTsurance take the spotlight since operating company share prices have fared better on the JSE. After Wednesday's listing, the two companies said shareholders would now own a stake in the company with an efficient, well-capitalized corporate structure. Other benefits will reap from this listing swap include a cost-effective way to complete an initial public offering, a higher dividend payout ratio, and a phased reduction of holding company and personal costs at RMI until March 2023.
That's it for the economic news. Let's take a look at the economic indicators. $1 will now cost 17 Namibian dollars and 37 cents. First Rand Limited stocks are now trading for 32 Namibian dollars and 5 cents on the NSX after a 0.1% increase in price. Local index increased by 0.002%, while the overall index decreased by 1.75%. Gold is valued at $1,796 while Brent crude oil is valued at $76.55 per barrel.
Cyril Ramaphosa, who is 70, is the only candidate ahead of his former health minister Zweli Mkhize for president of the African National Congress. Stick around to find out more on this and other stories from the African continent right here on NMH at 1.
The My.NA Cars Show provides viewers with the best in-class cars content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest cars-related news, products, and services. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Cars, more than just a ride.
In African news this afternoon, Cyril Ramaphosa, who is 70, is the only candidate ahead of his former health minister Zweli Mkhize for president of the African National Congress. The party meets next week to decide who will lead the country if the increasingly contested ANC wins the 2024 general election. But before that internal vote, Parliament will decide on Tuesday whether to launch impeachment proceeding against the president. Ramaphosa is accused of trying to conceal a burglary at one of his properties, during which a large sum of cash were found hidden in a sofa. The ANC, which has a large majority in Parliament, has given him official support, making a forced departure unlikely. But some have accused the party's top brass of trying to silence dissenting voices within the all-powerful National Executive Committee that heads it. The president, who is in trouble just days before a crucial election, went hunting outside his home province of Cape Town on Saturday. The province is traditionally favored by the first opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, which won more than 50% of the votes in the last local election. Asked by journalists about a possible withdrawal following the burglary case, in which he is not charged at this stage, Mr. Ramaphosa replied with a smile, "There is no problem. There is no crisis. Relax," before putting an end to questions. Later, walking between the corrugated iron shacks of Township, the president was followed by a restless crowd dressed in green, black, and yellow, the colors of ANC. Supporters shouted, "Mr. President, my president," but the word corruption was also on some lips. "I am happy to see him, but corruption in the ANC is killing our communities," Simpiwe Gamgaga, in his 40, told AFP, listing the needs in deprived areas where access to water and electricity is not guaranteed.
Now, the bodies of 27 people believed to be migrants from Ethiopia have been dumped by the roadside in the Ngwerere area north of Zambia's capital, Lusaka. They are likely to have suffocated to death while in transit, police spokesperson Danny Mwale told the BBC. One survivor found gasping for air has been rushed to a local hospital, he said. Zambia is a transit point for migrants, mostly from the Horn of Africa, who want to reach South Africa. Mwale said residents of Ngwerere found the bodies on Sunday at 6 a.m. local time. He said the police believe the migrants are Ethiopian nationals based on the identity documents found on them. Our preliminary investigations indicate that a total number of 28 persons, all male, aged between 20 and 38, were dumped in Meanwood Nkosi along Chiminuka Road in Ngwerere area by unknown people, the police said in a statement. The bodies have been taken to Zambia University Teaching Hospital mortuary in neighboring Malawi. The authorities discovered 25 bodies of Ethiopian migrants in a mass grave in October. The police there said they had evidence to link the stepson of Malawi's ex-president Peter Mutharika to the grim discovery.
Now moving on to our next story, AFP journalists saw a white glass-paneled horse adorned with a small curtain, affording a partial view of the container holding the body arrive on the tarmac at Lusaka Airport, where grieving relatives gathered. On the coffin was a code written in black marker, in a black marker pen, along with a letter in the Cyrillic alphabet betraying its provenance. Zambia demanded an urgent explanation from Moscow last month over the death of Lemekani Nathan Nyireda in September while fighting on the Russian side in Ukraine, where he ended up after his spell in prison. The 23-year-old had been studying nuclear engineering at Moscow Engineering Physics Institute, but was handed a 9.5-year jail term in April 2020 over a drug offense. 2 weeks after Zambia's demand for information, Russia's Wagner paramilitary group admitted it had recruited him for Moscow's special operation in Ukraine, adding he had voluntarily joined up before dying a hero.
Now, Iran has carried out its second execution linked to the nearly 3-month wave of anti-government protests. More on this story and other international news coming up right after the break.
The Evening Review is a daily interview-based talk show that dissects and expounds on current affairs as they occur in Namibia. The show aims at reaching Namibians of all age groups who seek better understanding of the state of current affairs in the country. This show is broadcasted on NTV, 1up2.com and cross-shared on the following Facebook platforms: Namibian Sun and Namibia Media Holdings. The Evening Review focuses on interviews, latest news and up-to-the-minute current events. Contact Evening at synergy.com.na. Evening Review, unpacking today's pertinent issues.
Starting off our international news, Iran has carried out its second execution linked to the nearly 3-month wave of anti-government protests. Majid Reza Ranavad was hanged in the city of Mashhad, the country's judiciary said. He was convicted of stabbing and killing 2 members of the security forces. The first execution linked to the protests took place last Thursday when Mohsen Shekari was hanged, triggering widespread condemnation. UK Foreign Secretary James Cleverly warned at the time that the world could not turn a blind eye to the abhorrent violence committed by the Iranian regime against its people. The current protests were triggered by the death of Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old woman who was detained by the country's morality police in September and died while in custody. She was held for allegedly wearing her hijab or headscarf improperly. The unrest, which began in the capital Tehran, where Ms. Amini died, has spread to some 160 cities in all of Iran's 31 provinces. According to the rights group H. Rana, over 18,000 people have been arrested and 400 488 people have been killed in the unrest. The protests are one of the most serious challenges to the Islamic Republic since its inception following the 1979 revolution.
In our next story, a Japanese space startup has launched its private lander to the moon aboard a SpaceX rocket, marking a significant step towards what would be a historic first, both for the nation and the private company. The Tokyo-based iSpace Inc. Hakuto R mission took off without incident from Cape Canaveral, Florida, on Saturday after the postponement caused by inception of its SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. The company designed its craft to use minimal fuel to save money and leave more room for the cargo. It is taking a slow, low-energy path to the moon, flying 1 million miles from the Earth before looping back and making a planned landing by the end of April. By contrast, NASA Orion crew capsule with test dummies took 5 days to reach the moon last month. The lunar flyby mission is anticipated to end on Sunday with a splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. The company hopes the Hakuto R project, whose name refers to the white rabbit that Japanese folklore suggests lives on the moon, will be the first of many deliveries of the government and commercial payloads. It has a contract with NASA to ferry payloads to the moon from 2025 and it's aiming to build a permanently staffed lunar colony by the 2040. Now, after the break, we return with local sports. Stay with NMH at 1.
Tourismus Namibia is a weekly tourism show that brings you the latest news in the tourism industry and topics related to that. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact tourismus@synergy.com.na for news and advertising related queries. Tourismus, bring the world to Namibia.
Now let's take a look at the news headlining the local sports scene. Irvin Handura's side beat rival South Africa and Egypt at the African Hockey Fives World Cup qualifiers, which will run from the 10th to the 15th of December. Namibia won their second match in their first African Hockey Fives World Cup qualifiers 3-2 against South Africa. Team Namibia will face Zambia and Kenya tomorrow.
Namibian boxer Philippus Shanika will face Rofiwa Nemushegwa at the Moses Madiba Stadium tomorrow. The two will square off for the vacant WBA Pan-African Bantamweight title at the King Misizulu International Boxing Tournament, which will feature special guest Floyd Mayweather.
Now, Dricus Kutsia said that he holds the utmost respect for his competitors after delivering an astounding Desert Dash victory. As dawn broke and the sea breeze washed over spectators and supporters waiting for the first person to cross the finish line, Dricus was an unexpected fate who reached the podium first in the elite solo category for men.
After the break, we take a look at international sports. Stay with us.
As the World Cup continues in Qatar, let's take a look at the quarterfinals results. A dramatic match between Croatia and Brazil saw them fight it out to extra time with a goal from Neymar. An equalizer in the 117th minute by Petkovic took them to penalty shootouts. Marquinhos and Rodrigo missed their spot kicks, which saw Croatia beat Brazil 4-2 in penalties. A 2-2 score also sent Netherlands and Argentina to penalties, and once the dust had settled, Argentina took the victory with a 4-3 score. En-Nesyri's goal saw Morocco become the first African nation to reach the semi-finals and sent Cristiano Ronaldo and his team packing after a 1-0 victory. And finally, goals from Aurélien Tchouameni and Olivier Giroud sent world champions France into the semi-finals to face Morocco and sent the Three Lions out after a 2-1 victory.
Now we look at our international sports. Morocco became the first African nation to reach the World Cup semi-finals after sealing a tense 1-0 victory over Portugal on Saturday at the Al Tumama Stadium. Tomorrow they will face France, whereas Argentina will face Croatia.
Samoa pulled off their first ever win in the HSBC Cape Town Sevens, as well as a rare triumph on the Sevens circuit as they edged out New Zealand 12-7 in a tightly contested wet weather final on Sunday.
Ben White returned to training with his Arsenal teammates in Dubai, having left England's World Cup squad midway through the tournament. The English Football Association said the centre-back had left for personal reasons, but a newspaper this week claimed that White's departure followed a row with assistant manager Steve Holland.
If you're just joining us, this is NMH at 1, and we will get into the highlights from today's broadcast right after this short break.
Kletskompas is 'n Afrikaanse kontinuïteitsprogram met Namibiese nuus en onderhoude. As jy jou handelsmerk of veldtog op hierdie platform wil vertoon, kontak klets@synergy.com.na.
We are back again with another episode of your favorite show.
Scholars, varsity and the youth generation through zone, varsity and school news. If you'd like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact Zone at synergy.com.na.
You're watching Animated 1. Let's take a look at the highlights from today's broadcast. The bodies of 27 people believed to be migrants from Ethiopia have been dumped by the roadside in Gwerere area north of Zambia's capital, Lusaka. They are likely to have suffocated to death while in transit, police spokesperson Danny Wale said. Iran has carried out its second execution linked to the nearly 3-month wave of anti-government protests. Majid Reza Ranavad was hanged in the city of Mashhad, the country's judiciary said. He was convicted of stabbing and killing 2 members of the security forces. In sport, Namibian boxer Philippus Shanika will face Rofiwa Nemushungwa at the Moses Mabhida Stadium tomorrow. The two will square off for the vacant WBA Pan-African Bantamweight title at the King Misuzulu International Boxing Tournament that will feature special guest Floyd Mayweather Jr.
Those have been your highlights. So please to remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. to spend your lunch hour with NMH at 1, catching up on the latest news in Namibia, Africa and the world, ranging from current affairs, economic news, sports and international headlines. That is all from all of us here in studio, but do not go away because coming up next is Eronga Talk.
Hallo kykers en welkom by nog 'n episode van julle gunsteling en hoogs betroubare aanlyn nuusbron Eronga Talk. Dankie vir julle almal wat gereeld by ons inskakel. Vandag kuier ons hier vanaf die lagoon in Walvis Bay. Ons bring vir julle die nuus en die weer. Nou Driekus Kutsia het vir jare sy droom om die Desert Dash te wen nagejaag en dit reg gekry Saterdag. Ons gaan kyk wat het by die Dash se eindstreep op Swakopmund gebeur. Soos gebruiklik is ons kalenderdag eerste op die lys. Sit terug en geniet hierdie video greep saam met ons. And now for your news. The renowned Nedbank Namibia Food Festival takes place at the Amphitheatre in Tobias and Yeku Street in Swakopmund from 15 to 17 December. The festival accommodates 25 selected food stalls, delivering a wide variety of dishes. According to the event organizer Delian Stefanus, they are well prepared and ready to host another truly Namibian, delectable and unique foodie experience at the coast. Delian said that everybody knows the event is food specific and that the organizers take pride in the fact that they remain true to their objective, which is to bring a huge variety of good quality food to visitors. The Nedbank Namibia Food Festival also partnered with Chomi Bites, a local delivery company, to enhance the reach of vendors at the event. People in and around Swakopmund can order and have their food delivered to them. Vendor profiles will be loaded onto an app. This is a win-win and adds value for both vendors and foodies. For the first time in the history of the event, the amphitheatre will be incorporated as part of the venue. Delian said that there is a surprise in store for visitors which will add a new dimension to the festival. As always, the setup will be user-friendly and enticing. Now this year's festival also boasts 5 professional chefs who intend to cook up a storm. Chef Chris will present an Argentinian grill, Chef Berta will be dishing up Portuguese-style fish, and Chef Toivo plans to tantalize taste buds with Spanish food with a truly Namibian flair. The prize tent will also be bigger and better since they have partnered with Heartleaf for an enhanced experience. In addition, Tate Asar Makapuli will again deliver a seafood paella and prepare seafood, including a variety of fish and crayfish on the grill. Stefanus said that there will be no live entertainment during the festival, as the organizers opted for 5 top Namibian DJs to add to the party vibe and festive atmosphere. They also made the decision to select the majority of these DJs, including Mikey G and the Musketeers DJ Jojo, DJ Skull and DJ Zonas from the Irongo region to keep things local. The kiddies are also in for a treat, with a special section for them featuring a variety of games to keep them entertained. Last year, an estimated 2,500 people visited the festival, which has people and vendors traveling from all over the country to participate. It has become a signature event and brings exposure to entrepreneurs as well as and it is also a good cash injection for Swakopmund. The festival is open from 9 to 9 daily and entrance is free with ample security and the police on standby for the duration of the event. Moving on, the Minister of Sports, Agnes Changorero, has urged Namibians not to underestimate but rather recognize the importance of the Sport Expo. Changorero said in a speech read by Sport Director Irvin Javera at the opening of the Sport Expo and conference in Swakopmund that she is confident that the sports industry has the potential to unlock doors. She said that the importance of the event cannot be underestimated as the sports sector is a billion-dollar industry worldwide. The Namibian sport industry needs all the support it can get to grow and equate to other lucrative sport sectors globally, the minister said. She pointed out that the creation of a platform such as the Sport Expo and Conference by the Namibian government and Sports Commission is one way of supporting and creating a conducive environment for sport businesses to thrive. The sport professionalization agenda is geared to promote sport businesses to contribute to the Namibian GDP as well as in employment creation, the minister said. The expectations was that the expo will generate income for the coastal towns given that the MTC Dome will host the event for the next 3 years. Accommodation establishment in Swakopmund will thus be injected with cash, much needed cash, during the time of the expo, and companies selling sport equipment at the event are expected to receive an income. The Namibian Sport Expo was initiated and approved by Cabinet in 2018, with the first expo taking place in May 2019. The 2020 Sport Expo was done virtually after the coronavirus pandemic, which resulted in a halt of many sport events. This year's expo focused on new training methodologies, high-performance sports, and development pathways. the latest sports apparel and equipment, as well as creating new affiliations and partnerships formed part of the agenda at the expo. 18 sports federations were present at the event, as well as Namibian Olympic Committee. 30 stands were also allocated for exhibitors. And finally, Driekus Coetzee says that he holds the utmost respect for his Desert Dash competitors. At the breaking of dawn and with a slight breeze in the air, those who waited for the first man to complete the 397 kilometers distance from Windhoek to Plaatsameer in Swakopmund were surprised by the unfamiliar face of Driekus Coetzee being the first elite solo man category cyclist to arrive at the finishing point. Driekus said that he might have finished ahead of the rest, but he respects every rider that competed and followed in his tracks. They are all terrific cyclists. It was destined to happen, and it took a lot of work and support from my sponsors and family for me to accomplish this. I am grateful, Coetzee said after the race. The cyclist, who has been in mesmerizing form this year, left his opponents behind. When he arrived at Plaatsameer Mall, he was greeted with a standing ovation by those who braved the cold to witness the realization of a truly Namibian success story. Coetzee had won many events, but the Desert Dash was one that he wanted more, given that many hiccups he faced in the past while competing in the event. I had worked hard to be where I am, and I will continue doing that as a cyclist. The race went well for me. I prepared for it to the best of my ability and did not feel much pressure, he said. The newly crowned champion defeated Dash multiple champion Connie Loser, who once again finished second in a time of 15 hours, 38 minutes and 52 seconds for the second time in a row. The Swiss rider confessed after the event that he had been struggling from a flu a few days before the event. He congratulated Coetzee for having stormed to victory, saying it was well deserved. Rick Stephan finished third in a time of 15 hours, 45 minutes and 3 seconds. Most cyclists complained about the wind, with many saying it was their last race, even if it happened to be their first Desert Dash. The old-timers, however, had a different opinion and stated they will continue doing the Desert Dash for as long as their legs allows them to do so. The women's solo race was won by South African cyclist Yolandi de Villiers in a time of 17 hours, 50 minutes and 9 seconds. With Courtney Liebenberg in second position, she clocked 19 hours, 1 minute and 41 seconds, and Belinda van Rijn finishing third with a time of 19 hours, 19 minutes and 42 seconds. You can visit our website www.irongo.com.na for more on the results. And that concludes our news for today.
Well, as you can see behind me, this is the champion of the Desert Dash, the 2022 Desert Dash champion, that is Driekus Coetzee. Everyone wants a piece of him here, autographs and all. I mean, it is indeed a very special occasion for him as a champion. And I'm just waiting for him to finish some autographs. I'll probably also have mine after this one. I mean, he's the champion. Such an emotional time, and you can see family members really swept away by a special occasion. And I mean, he's the man of the moment, and we have to allow him that moment just to honor the fans that have also been supporting him. Driekus, a few months back I had you in studio, and I actually told you, I think I told you that you were actually ready for this year was your year, and you have been doing a brilliant job in terms of whatever race you compete in. I think it was written on the board that this was going to be your Desert Dash, don't you think?
In hindsight, I think the same, but you still need to pull it off on the day. And respect to my competitors, you know. And I have so much respect for my friend Connie, who won the event 6 times. So, in hindsight, yes. But I've ticked the box, and I'm extremely happy.
So.